You're listening to LSU Daily with Matt Musso, your home for all things LSU sports.
Off and running here on another edition of LSU Daily. Welcome in, fired up to have everybody along for the ride today. Big news out of LSU football. Defensive line coach Bo Davis leaving Brian Kelly's staff after 1 year to take the defensive line position, well, about an hour down the road on Kellen Moore's staff with the New Orleans Saints. All the fallout, what this means for LSU going forward, because y'all, I don't have to tell you this, it's a really, really big loss for the Tigers, but it impacts so many different facets of LSU's defense, and it's a huge loss for so many different reasons, all of which we will get into here today. And then also on Wednesday night, the LSU baseball team notches their first ranked win of the season, downing 19th ranked Dallas Baptist in Arlington in the midweek. Tigers made a statement in that win, and now will head to Frisco for the Frisco College Baseball Classic, where they'll see two more Power 5 teams here this weekend. We will recap the victory over Dallas Baptist. So get subscribed if you have not already. Like and share. You can follow me, of course, on social media as well, on Twitter X, at Musso Matthew. You can find me on Instagram, Matthew Musso1. You can find me on Facebook, Matt Musso. All of that is greatly, greatly appreciated. All right, let's dive right into it. And we will start, obviously, with the news of Bo Davis leaving LSU and heading to the New Orleans Saints. This is such a tough loss for LSU, and it is on multiple fronts. You can look at the recruiting acumen that Bo Davis brings and brought, and we are all well aware of that. And you already saw it pay off in the 2025 class with guys like Brandon Brown and Zion Williams and Buddy Mathis. You've already seen it pay off a little bit here in the 2026 class with Richard Anderson, right? So we know about that. And we knew about that long before. That's why, man, it was always such a priority to get Bo Davis back. Remember how many times LSU went after him. And Brian Kelly was finally able to get it done. They paid him $1.25 million to come be the defensive line coach. Obviously the highest paid D-line coach in the country. And your investment was paying off. Not just because of the recruiting that we just talked about, but this is huge because look at the development you saw from LSU's interior defensive linemen just in the lone year under Bo Davis. Think of the strides guys like Ahmed Bro made and Don McKinley and even Gabe Relaford. Relaford played inside and out, but you get what I mean. And now you're going to get to see him with Mathis and Williams and Brown and all the other guys we just mentioned, and continue to work and build LSU back up into the trenches to what it is supposed to be. I mean, think about when he got to LSU. You had just seen Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy go in the high in the draft from Texas. And I can remember when LSU hired Bo Davis, sitting there and shortly after and saying, okay, we know about the recruiter. We know about all the ancillary stuff. He really showed the on-field development at Texas. He's going to have to do that at LSU in his first year because you don't have Byron Murphy, right? Yeah, that guy isn't on your team. You're going to have young guys and some lower-level transfers, and I'll be damned, he did it. I mean, Gio Paez played really well. We already mentioned the freshman. He was in the process of doing that, and it was real easy to get excited. The other major reason this is just such a brutal loss for LSU is it continues a cycle that you thought you were out of. And that is turnover at the defensive line coach position. Where, again, think back to where LSU was when they hired Bo Davis. Jamar Cain is your D-line coach in 2022. Brian Kelly's first year. And you know what? It went pretty well, man. You saw some guys. Remember that was when you lost Mason Smith, and Jamar Cain coached him up and got him going. And They were able to, make a run all the way to the SEC championship game even after losing Mason Smith up front. And you felt like you really had something there. Good recruiter, all those things. But then, in spring practice, Jamar Cain leaves for a job with the Denver Broncos and Sean Payton, oddly enough. Weird synergy there between Saints and LSU. So, you're in spring, you have to do something. You promote Gerald Chapman in the interim. He obviously moved on and is at Florida now, but while he was the interim, then LSU hires Jimmy Lindsey. Of course, Jimmy Lindsey had to step away for the health scare, the medical reasons that he had before preseason practice, so LSU has to move John Jancic in there to the defensive line coach. And then Pete Jenkins was brought in to help after 5 games of the season because remember, at times in 2023, LSU's defensive line was lining up a yard off the football. That's where you were. That's where you were when you brought in Bo Davis and you felt like you had finally had stability there. And again, all the dividends that we talked about at the front of this show were all paying off. And now, just like Cain, Lindsey, Jancic, Pete, like any of the guys we just talked about, Bo Davis has left after 1 year in LSU. So the high rate of turnover there just continues. And look, LSU's going to get good players. Like, y'all, Bo Davis was first on LSU staff in the early 2000s. 2005 was his last year. He left off, and he was just a strength coach there. And LSU kept rolling in great defensive linemen after that. They will get great defensive linemen. It hurts losing him as a recruiter for sure. But what hurts the most is that coaching aspect, the development aspect. And the stability that you thought you had finally achieved on the defensive line is now gone. And that's what really, really stinks about this. And on top of all of that, it happens 10 days before spring practice. 10 days. Now, you are in a better spot this go-round, at least it feels like, than you were the last few. Like, 10 days before spring sucks, but remember, we just talked about it. Jamar Cain left you in spring. Jimmy Lindsey has the health issue 2 days before you open fall camp. And you were really kind of scrambling to find the replacements there and having to promote from within. I think when you look at what LSU does here, I think the answer's pretty simple in the interim because, again, spring practice starts in 10 days. And that's Kevin Peoples, who's your edge rushers coach. But Kevin Peoples does have experience overseeing the entire defensive line. Most recently, that was at Indiana. He was at Indiana before his stint at Missouri. And again, he oversaw the entire defensive line there for the Hoosiers. That was in 2020 and 2021. In 2020, Indiana led the Big Ten in sacks for the first time in school history, and defensive tackle Jerome Johnson earned first-team All-Big Ten honors. So, in the interim, Kevin Peoples seems plenty capable of overseeing LSU's defensive line process and coaching up everyone on that unit, while Brian Kelly looks for maybe a more permanent solution there. And who knows? Maybe the answer ends up being Kevin Peoples. We'll wait and see. But you feel better about that, I do believe, than if you would have had to go out there and, kind of scramble as you had to in the past. And the other thing I will say is, while I understand that not everybody is very high on the New Orleans Saints right now, and you shouldn't be, they're not a very good team. They're not going to be good in 25. Probably not in 26 either. But if you are going to lose Bo Davis, this is where you lose him. For one, it's an NFL job, so that's great. It's not another team in the SEC or another team in college football. where you're going to have to recruit against him and or see his players, and it is for the hometown team. It's a very small silver lining, but it is a silver lining nonetheless. And again, I think you feel pretty good having Kevin Peoples, there with you to, at least in the interim, oversee the entirety of the defensive line because he is capable there. So, LSU defensive line coach, Bo Davis, interior defensive line coach, Bo Davis, off to the NFL, joining Kellen Moore's staff and the New Orleans Saints. 10 days before spring practice, Brian Kelly has another on-field staff position to fill. All right, before we wrap this thing up, got to recap the big win for LSU baseball on Wednesday night up in Arlington against top 20 ranked Dallas Baptist. The Patriots were ranked as high as 17 for that game a night ago against LSU. And, man, LSU, they win at 7-3. They pound out 12 hits. Yes, they left 15 guys on base, and that's really where you can look at it. And specifically in the 7th and 8th innings where the Tigers left the bases loaded, you had multiple opportunities there to put the ball game away. Just put it on ice and coast through the finish line. And that would have been fantastic to see. Fantastic to see. But ultimately, it didn't happen. And you had some poor execution, some head-scratching things. The suicide squeeze bunt in the 7th was, I could have done without that. I am curious if if Stanfield missed a sign there, if it was supposed to be a safety with one out. But he broke for home fully, suicide squeeze fashion. Pearson pops the bunt up. Could have done without that. And again, in the 8th, you load the bases with nobody out, and you get nothing. And there's 2 strikeouts involved there, and that's rough. Like those are not the at bats you want. Now you had a couple guys in there, young guys, pinch hitters, who came in earlier. You're trying to see what you have in them, and in that spot, that was a big spot for them, and, well, you saw the result. So you go forward there. LSU will eventually settle on a lineup. But 2 things that LSU did exceptionally well that led to them winning that ball game on Wednesday night were they kept the walk number low again, only 3 walks for LSU in that game, and 2 out RBI, specifically in that 5th inning. Those 2 things win baseball games. Low walk totals and 2 out RBI. And LSU did those things very well, and they ultimately end up winning. Offensively, again, like we said, yes, you could have broken that game open. You didn't. But it was still a really good offensive night for LSU where you had 5 guys who were all going to contribute for you on this team. 5 guys with multi-hit nights. Curiel, Jones, Dickinson, Brown, and Milam. Those guys aren't leaving your lineup. And they all had massive nights against really good opponent and really good arms that you saw. And then, as we said, the 2 out RBI. Where in that 5th inning, you go Stanfield ground out, Curiel walks, Jones singles up the middle, LSU goes double steal, DBU plays it perfectly, and Jones is out at second base for the 2nd out of the inning. But then that's when Jay Johnson started hitting the right buttons at that moment. Ethan Fry pinch hits with 2 outs, double into left center field. Danny Dickinson comes up, homers, 2-run shot. So that's 3 runs with 2 outs RBI. After a Milam single and a Hernandez walk, he goes for another pinch hit. Takes out Jake Brown, who was 2 for 2, by the way, at that point. John Pearson goes in, promptly singles up the middle with 2 outs and drives in the run. So that was huge. That got LSU a cushion. It was great to see them respond in the 6th after DBU punched back. LSU immediately comes back, steals any momentum that the Patriots might have had, putting up 2 more runs, ultimately extending the lead. It was 5, then it was 2, and then it was back to 4, and they would hold it down. From a pitching standpoint, oh my goodness, it's amazing I got this far into this recap without talking about Connor Ware and Kason Evans, because LSU was dominant on the mound, front end and back end. Y'all, Connor Ware was near perfect. He was near perfect. Through 4 complete innings, he was perfect. And then Grant Jay, who's just an elite prospect from Dallas Baptist, kid's probably going to play Major League Baseball, takes him deep in the 5th, his 2nd time seeing him, and that ultimately chased Ware from the game. But when you look at his line in total, Connor Ware goes 4+ innings, gave up the one hit, the one run. He didn't walk anybody. He punched out 6, and he got to 60 pitches in this outing. He was around 40 or so in his first outing against Southern, got you about 20 more, and got you a little deeper into the game, got you into the 5th inning. The changeup looked really good, but the high fastball, he really had a feel and was able to put that fastball wherever he wanted and up in the zone. Dallas Baptist just could not lay off of it on Wednesday night. And he did mix in the slider. I thought he mixed really well. Obviously, you have to be perfect through 4 innings. That's through 12 batters. He was perfect. The role that young man is going to play on this team is so vital, whether it be in spot starts, whether there is a slip up in LSU's rotation and he finds his way in there, although that doesn't look likely at this point, but maybe, or anywhere else in the bullpen that you want to put him. He is so versatile and so valuable, and it was great to see him have that success against a really good team and a really good program in Dallas Baptist. That's his first road start and it's in a big league park, and it's against a top 20 team. Big moment for Connor Ware. And then Case and Evans, y'all, at the back end of the game. LSU might have found a new closer. And look, Gavin Guidry's going to have something to say about that for sure when he's healthy and back out there. But you can't deny what you saw from Case and Evans on Wednesday night, nor the rest of the year so far. Evans comes in the 8th inning, first and second, nobody out, and both of them have been put there for free. 2 walks by Cooper Williams. And you call on Case and Evans, y'all, this is a bit of a sticky spot. It's just a 4-run game. You've left 6 guys on base the last 2 innings. Like, you've let that team hang around. This is a sticky spot. And you're at the top of the order. So you're set to go through 2, 3, and 4. Ultimately, you didn't have to. Evans comes in throwing heat, induces a fielder's choice against DeTalo, and then gets Tom Poole to line out into a double play to Jared Jones. And that was great positioning by LSU. Credit the coaching staff for that. And Jones makes the play. The ball was hit right at him. He was in the right spot because off the bat, I thought for sure that was down the line. It was smoked. But Jones grabs it, kicks the bag, and that's the end of the inning. And then Case and Evans was nails for you in the 9th. 3 up, 3 down, ball game over. The fastball plays, and he used that exclusively a night ago, mixed in a few sliders in the 9th. But after watching him do that, be that calm, that cool under that type of pressure, big league ballpark, his first real, save opportunity. I know he got one against Omaha, but against a ranked opponent, all of those things as a true freshman, needing to get 6 outs, mind you, and he does it cool, calm, and collective. You could give the ball to Case and Evans right now in an SEC game on a weekend in a must-win spot, needing 3 outs, and I'd be good with it. We've been looking for separation. Buddy, that was separation. You've got a special player and a special arm in Case and Evans. He's set for a great year. That was massive. And on top of that, LSU makes a statement. That's your first opportunity against a ranked opponent. It's on the road, and you go out there and win, and you never trailed. You take it wire to wire. That's confidence. That's a confidence boost going forward for this team, and it's exactly what you needed to see the last 3 games from LSU after the slip-up against Omaha in Game 2 of that series. Now they'll turn their focus to Frisco. They will face Kansas State, a tournament team a year ago who is hot right now early in the year. And then they will face Nebraska, a tournament team from a year ago that already has a win over Vanderbilt. And then they will wrap that weekend up with Sam Houston State. You know we'll have you covered wall-to-wall for it right here on LSU Daily. So get subscribed if you have not already. Follow me on social media. Thank you for tuning in, and be here next time for more.